Hello, everyone. Welcome to another review from Simply Nerdy. I'm your host, Steven. I'm joined today by Austin and Anthony. And we are going to talk about Monster Hunter Wilds, the low rank review. Because we've just finished the low rank. You finish the story, then it opens up to the high rank and all the glorious stuff after that. So we're just going to talk about the main story and the whole low rank experience. So which one of you guys want to open the floor?
I'll go first.
Open the floor. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll open floors. So, for me, I think we talked about this a little bit during the impressions video, but Monster Hunter Rise was my first Monster Hunter game, my introduction to the franchise. And that's all I really had to go off of to compare this game. This game, Monster Hunter Wilds, I thought stayed true to what I feel is the Monster Hunter feel, even with the omission of elements that at first I thought were critical, like the wire bugs. And while this game does have some issues, it's mostly me being nitpicky. I feel like it was a solid game. I really enjoyed the story aspect. There were moments where I got a little impatient with the story because I was so caught up with trying to play with friends. The online aspect was so fun, but I wanted to just zip through the story, so I found myself skipping through a lot of it, unfortunately. But overall, I think it was a fantastic tribute to Monster Hunter. So
I'll jump in on that. So I think probably if I were to have a number one complaint, it would just be the awkwardness of trying to play online with friends. And I'm kind of middle of the road as far as I'm not even sure how I'd want them to fix it, because I really enjoyed the more narrative focus to the plot. I loved that the hunter is voiced. I really struggle with silent protagonists, and yes, I know Zelda is one of my favorite franchises, and yes, it's Link is always silent, but it's a little bit different. I think for one thing, Zelda can get away with it because it's not heavily narratively driven. I won't go off in the weeds too much, other than to say that if they ever did do a heavy narrative-driven Zelda game where Link has a voice and they do it right, I would be stoked for that. But anyway, that aside, with plot-heavy, narrative-heavy games, I struggle with silent protagonists. And so I was really happy that they gave the hunter a voice and a personality.
Oh, yes.
There's just some really solid performances from the voice actor that I chose. I really enjoyed hearing that. And I also liked how, it's not like it's the deepest story in the world, but they still kind of, by including the narrative elements, they capture the human factor pretty nicely. And I really enjoyed seeing that woven into, Miko face on monster kind of gameplay, that this series is based around. Anyway, but so I really liked that. I just, it was at the same time, there was a couple times I'm like, but I want to be able to hunt more monsters, and to do that I have to do more of the story. But most of the time when I'm playing with friends, and we're all sitting in the same lobby being like, just let me know when your story's done so I can help you with this quest. So there was some growing pains. But I think, considering that this is their first foray into that I give them lots of props for how well they pulled it off, despite there still being some frustrations with that. So yeah, overall, I would say I thoroughly enjoyed the narrative. I felt like, in spite of some of my frustrations with it, they were pretty respectful as far as how much was included. It's more than any other Monster Hunter game, but if you compare it to the average plot-driven story, it was pretty light, on cutscenes and story scenes like that. Anyway, and the other thing I'll just jump in on is I did expect to have a lot more trouble with the exclusion of things like the wire bugs specifically. That was the one that I thought was really going to be hard for me to get over. Yep. I still miss it. There's times when my guy is face planted and he's like, okay, just a second, I need 10 full seconds before I can get back up and do anything,
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, I would love to just be able to wire bug out and just get back to the action. Like, why did they feel the need to remove that? So I still feel that way, but
well, they actually I shouldn't say they introduced this, but with the secret, you can actually still call your secret when you're getting toppled to have them pick you up and run.
I do that
of wire bugging. Yeah,
I do that all the time because I'm like, oh shoot, I just got pancaked. I'd better call over my secret.
Yep.
You know, the trouble that's usually what's happened.
Yeah, that's true.
But here's the thing, with the wire bug, it takes a split second for me to get out of there. When I call my sacred over, it's like, oh, you go up here, let me circle around you.
Or sometimes I'm running this way and it's coming this way and it picks me up right back into the monster.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yep.
So I do miss that. I do, but I do feel like they designed the game well enough that it's easy to forgive it. I was about to say to forget it's not there. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it's easier to forgive it. And one of the things too that I think goes a really long way in helping with that is focus mode is basically this game's killer app. It seems like it's a small thing. Hey, look, I can pick specific spots to target, but I may just tell you, as a Charge Blade fan, it has never been this easy to land super amped element discharges. You don't have to do crazy fiddling with the camera. You just focus mode. I want to point that way. Boom. Game changing.
So nice. So nice.
And
the way the camera works in hunts.
No. I will say I do get a little frustrated with the auto target sometimes because it's like, let's also narrow your field of view to like this. And it's just like, oh no. Oh wait, hold on.
That's fair.
And sometimes I'm just like, I want to see what's over there while I'm looking at the monster. So sometimes I turn it off. But yes, otherwise I will agree. Most of the things they added in, I felt like were pretty well implemented. And so even though they took out some things I loved, they replaced it with some things I also love. And so at the end of the day, I'm very pleased. I've really, really been enjoying myself. And now that I'm kind of dipping my feet into high rank, I'm excited to dive in. And then I will say, it seems like high rank is a little bit more of the standard Monster Hunter fare. You find a monster, tell your friends about it, go hunt it, return and report.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Best of both worlds. I don't know. Anyway, I've really enjoyed it.
I love it. Same here. I love everything you both said. Austin, I totally agree with you with the story. I found myself skipping some of it too because it was a little too much at times. But I love the fact that they really fleshed it out, like you already said. So I won't elaborate too much on that. But I really enjoyed what they did there. Anthony, you talked about mechanics a little bit. I think the mechanics in this game are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I totally agree about the wire bugs. And I agree about that sacred situation that happens a lot when you get pancaked. But I really enjoy what they've done here. And I love the new, like, Sword and Shield got some new moves. Mm-hmm. I'm a Sword and Shield guy. And I love the inclusions. And I don't know if I can go. I said this about wire bugs too, but I don't know if I can go back. Because I love being able to block and then attack and slide under the monster.
Yeah.
As I'm attacking it, it's so nice, and the other new moves too in Sword and Shield. But I really love what they've done here. The only other thing I wanted to bring up was the fact that there were so many performance issues at launch.
Yep.
To the point where I know Anthony had to get some new computer components for it to run better, and you had a decent setup too. It
was fine. It wasn't good. Now I have now I have a really solid computer, and I was kind of wanting to upgrade anyways. So this was just the impetus, but it was a very powerful impetus because when I was playing, and I'm like, I know I have a good graphics card. 4000 series. It should be able to handle at least 1080p 60 FPS. It should be able to pull that off. But when I was like, I can get this game to run smoothly if I make it look like Quake 64. That's when I was like, okay, we're done. I'm going to stop playing this game until I have a better way to play it. And then I upgraded, and now it's great again. So.
And I want to say that kind of killed our momentum as a group And Anthony dropped off because of performance problems. I was like, dude. And then Austin and I finished. Anthony finished. I don't know who finished when, because we all kind of dropped off after that. But now that we're on high rank, like Anthony said, it's gotten way better, and getting together in multiplayer now is much easier. We've got over the learning curve there with all the different ways you can connect with your friends, either in the squad, with different lobbies, and with link parties. Like, oh my gosh.
Anthony touched on that a little bit. I think, and I think you did too, Steve, but it was quite complicated. There's just so much to take in with the menus, with the different terminology between, like you said, squads, linked parties, lobbies, all of these
environment
different things.
Links.
Environment links.
Environment links. Don't forget about those environment links.
Oh man,
the fact that you can't share an environment link inside the training area, which is like one of the stupidest things ever.
Dude, yeah. You can't connect with friends and have them train you.
Yeah,
on a weapon.
That was how I was evangelizing my beloved Chargeblade to even. Now I can't do it anymore.
I'm just kidding. I love the Chargeblade too.
One critique I think I wanted to make was, I wish there was a little more incentive to use the different weapons so that you could get used to all the different weapons. It would give me an excuse to practice the Chargeblade more. It's something that I've been wanting to do ever since Anthony had taught it to me initially. I really love the Insect Glaive. That's my weapon of choice. And I, like, similar to Steve, I really love both the familiarity that they brought from Monster Hunter Rise and other Monster Hunters, I'm sure, but also the unique aspects, the new moves, the new abilities, and for specifically for Insect Glaive, the ability to like pull all of the colored extracts from one attack, using a focus attack or whatever. It's really cool. I do wish that there was more. I don't know, like more of a reason to use the secondary weapon. And I don't know about you guys, I haven't really swapped between weapons. I just haven't seen the need to do that,
This guy has. I also have not. I've got the bow as my secondary. I rarely pull it out. But this guy, Anthony, take it away. You have definitely used that secondary weapon. I've seen it and I've heard about it.
I've used it to pretty good effect. Most of the time, it's for the sake of switching between melee and ranged. So my secondary weapon of choice is the bow. I'm not nearly as good at it, or as educated as I am with the Chargeblade, but the bow is a lot of fun. And sometimes when I'm getting sick of getting pancaked by a monster, I'll be like, all right, fine, I'm going to step away and shoot you in the face.
Especially when it's flying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, I've come to really enjoy the bow, but I also sometimes I'll take two different Chargeblades with me, and I'll have one be, for example, one element, and then another one will be either a different element. Maybe I'm doing a dual hunt, and the two monsters have different weaknesses, or maybe I actually want to use an impact file so I can, get some stuns instead of going for just straight elemental damage. Or, sometimes I'll be like, hey, look, this monster is weak to fire, but it's also really susceptible to poison. So I'll bring a fire and a poison Chargeblade.
Nice.
I just, most of the time, like I said, I use it as a way to make it so I have ranged and melee options. But, I also like to use it to spec for different attributes.
I guess I can't necessarily fault the game for my lack of using the secondary weapon, but I do wish in general there was more incentive to, I don't know, like different quests or like specific mission achievements that you could get to learn or use different weapons. Maybe if they had an achievement that says like capture this monster using this weapon or whatever. I don't know. Just
right. Yes.
Something to kind
take
of
the Splatoon 3 approach or Splatoon 2 Octo expansion, where it's like this mission is based around this way.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
I think the only thing that I would say as a kind of a devil's advocate counter to all that is, how much would you look forward to the Lance mission, Austin?
Well, and as long as it's an optional thing, like I said, if it's an achievement
if
and
it's
not
optional,
necessarily
yes.
you have to do this with
Yes,
the lads.
yes,
Otherwise,
yes.
I would take that
You're
lance
right, Anthony.
and just destroy myself. And put myself out of
Mission-
misery
mission
with the
start.
lance. Sorry to all you lance lovers out there. It's,
Let us know in the comments below.
I don't know how you do it.
Oh man,
Yeah.
something I wanted to bring up though, I want to talk about the monsters
Oh
because the monsters we got in this game were like chef's kiss, man.
I
They
agree.
were so cool.
They were
especially that
creative.
last monster.
Yeah, they were
Yes.
so fun to fight. They were unique.
Oh,
They
man.
weren't. They didn't just feel like okay, here's another dinosaur, to kill. But no, they felt more like they took a leaf out of Pokemon. I guess if that's. I don't even know if I used the right phrase.
Right.
Yeah, they just they gave these monsters a lot more pizzazz.
Yes,
right?
no kidding. They had attacks.
Design.
Where I remember just like
Yeah.
stopping and just laughing at
Oh,
how
yeah.
cool it was.
Conga
Even if
Lala.
I got pulverized and I was like nearly dead, I was so happy. I was like, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, like the
It's
Conga
so-
Lala with the Hershey gas that it blows
Yes.
on you.
Oh gosh, yeah, that was funny. Oh man.
Definitely had
So go ahead.
personality. I mean, I will say my first Monster Hunter was Rise as well, so I don't really have a lot of history with the franchise to say how accurate this statement is. But I will say my impression to this point has been that aside from a very few new monsters in Rise, most of them were returning in some form. Wilds bucks that completely. Like the first, almost every single monster, at least in low rank, were ones I don't think has ever been in the series before. Like the Lalabarina, was that one was very unique. And the new Udra or things like that, just they felt like very, very different, completely new takes, and almost across the board. And I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to get into our review scores now. So for me, I think I will give this game an 8. I loved it. Mechanics are wonderful. I just have a few problems with like the UI and the confusion between the online player modes, and how long it took to connect to your friends, which is the whole point of Monster Hunter, in my opinion. I've also started with Rise, so maybe I don't know, but the community aspect was definitely dragged with this single player campaign a little bit, and kind of dragged my pacing for the game. So that's why I give it an 8. Austin, how about you?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I would give it an 8 as well. For some of the reasons that you shared, I feel like the gameplay, the fighting mechanics were intriguing, and it brought me back, with excitement every time. And there are some issues that I take with it aside from the initial performance pains. Some of the dialogue was frustrating, especially the dead air between each of the characters' lines. Found myself sitting there like, oh yeah, I can push A or B or whatever to skip to the next person's line faster, and that to me was just kind of a chore. Also, my connection issues as I've been playing with you guys. I know that's not necessarily the game's fault. That's more, not necessarily user error, but it's an issue that I have to take care of. But it has been a little bit of a deterrent of the enjoyment. So, for me, overall, the game itself, fantastic, solid 8.
Okay, well, apparently I'm consistently the most positive among our group. I would,
What? Excuse me.
at least as far as review scores are concerned, I would say at least a 9 for me.
Ooh, nice.
I and potentially higher, especially depending on how I enjoy the high rank. I will say after, like I came straight from being super into doing all of the master rank hunts in Sunbreak. That when I came to low rank, I was like, oh, this is super easy, But so I'm kind of excited to see how much of the heat they bring in the high rank stuff. But anyway, aside from a few of the quibbles I already mentioned, I think it's fantastic, and I think in a lot of ways it's easy for me to say it's probably the finest entry in the franchise so far, and I'm excited for them to do more with it. So at least a 9.
Love it.
And it has a chance to grow.
And that's a good point. I feel like
Agreed.
it has the potential to increase, especially as we're seeing updates. They are already dropping good DLC and updates. They just released a video this morning about, at the time of this recording anyway, about the title something update that they're planning to do in April. But it has the potential to get even better as I continue to play it. So I'm excited about that.
Sorry, I was just going to say, hopefully most of the things that we've knocked points off for are things that they are ultimately going to fix. I'd like to think that performance issues and connection issues are things that they'll be able to iron out over time.
Okay, then I'll give it a 9.
Well, I'm not trying to get you to change your score now.
That's fair. Yeah, those are good points. I'll give
An
it a
8
9.
with the potential for 9.
An 8 with the potential for 9, which brings our score to a 8.7.
Oh yeah.
8.7 for Monster Hunter Wilds. Let us know down in the comments what you think of that score. If you think it should be higher, lower, what your experience has been so far. If you've experienced performance issues like some of us, and what you're hoping for in future updates and future DLC, and what future monsters you want to see. I mean, heck, any monsters on the table right now? We already have a couple that have already been announced.
Oh,
Or I guess one, and one teased. So
that's actually something. Sorry, I know we're actually wrapping up, but I wanted to say a lot of people have commented on how awesome it's been that they've brought back monsters that they introduced in some of the earlier games. I didn't actually know that because, like Anthony had said earlier, that both of us, we're all pretty new to the monster. Yeah, all three of us are pretty new to the Monster Hunter franchise. So, but that's something that's actually really cool, and I appreciate that they've brought back some of those monsters. And anyway,
the tempered versions of the monster. Yes, that's a cool way to bring old monsters back for a new round of fighting. Oh, it's so good for a new round of hunting. Sorry. Anyway, let us know down in the comments below what you think. And until next time, guys,
Keep it nerdy.
keep it nerdy.